Today, for today's session, we'll go for 30 minutes or 40 minutes. I think 40 minutes I'll take because the other demo of Azure API management will take minimum 1 hour. And, also like I'm feeling a bit low today. So tomorrow we'll continue with the API management demos, right? Today so we'll do the demo. I'm talking about the AZ204 questions around API management, right? So today the focus is, for the 30-40 minutes focus is to first, also we term it as API-M. So I want to ask everyone out here, I know that a lot of you guys are already doing Azure. How many of you guys have looked into this API management? Anyone here who has looked into API management or gone through something online? Right, so I can see Ramesh has looked into it, and anyone here who has looked into API management, right? So I can see like some people have looked into it. So let us look into what exactly is this API management. First thing, from the exam point of view, in AZ204, there is a lot of focus on API management. Absolutely, a lot of questions come around API management. Lot of means, I know that there is one big case study which actually comes on API management, right? So definitely from the exam point of view also it is very important. And why is API important? Well, if you see nowadays, a lot of people are creating REST APIs and web API. So to manage those APIs, this API management is created. So now here, if you go to your Azure portal, so here is my Azure portal. The first thing, so what exactly is this API management? Also, let me chalk down a syllabus at least what I will take in this 30 minutes. First thing, what is this Azure API-M? What does it do? So I'll be calling it as API-M. Everyone calls it API-M, right? Second, I will talk about the architecture of Azure of API-M. So there are some specific components like inbound, outbound, products, front end, and then front end API and back end API. So you need to know some concepts, some vocabularies out here so that you can look into things well. Then I will talk about something called as revision. In the API, right? What else I can take? Yes, so that's, and also let me try to make an API call through using the key from external client, external browser. So some demos which will help us out to understand, right? So if you look at the Azure API-M, if that's the tutorial out there, but let me very quickly talk about it. Now what happens is, let us say that you have a lot of APIs at the back end, right? So you have an API which is a weather API, and then you have an API, or let's say you have an accounting API, inventory API, this API, that API, right? And you want to manage those APIs. You want to go ahead and have a front end kind of a gateway wherein the API call comes in, and then it is routed to the backend API. And why you need this front end API? You need it probably that you want to do a lot of security on it. You want to put some JWT tokens and do the security of it. You want to enforce certain rules like, that, okay, you can only make 10 calls. You cannot make consecutively 100 calls, right? So you want to go and put some usage quota on it, right? You want to go and transform the API on the fly. For example, now it is giving out JSON. You want to say that, okay, I want to give out XML, right? You don't want to really change your code, right? You want to do caching, for example, when a call is made to the API, you will say that if you come vary by param like this, I want to go ahead and do some caching. So there are a lot of things more than this. They have listed on very few points out here that this tutorial is not really updated. So if you ask me this so-called as, I can see there's a question here. These are custom APIs? No, these are not custom API. The web API, the API-M is a service given by Azure. So what you can do is, so think about it. You have your custom APIs at the back end. Let us say you have an inventory API which you created using WCF. Then you have a web API, MVC core, which is like, let's say, accounting API, right? So you have a lot of API at the back end. You want to go and manage them. And that's what this API-M is all about. So what you can do is you can add all you create this API-M service in Azure, and then you then go ahead and add all your APIs to it, and then you can go and you can do servicing on it, right? So what this APIM will do, this APIM will, first thing, certain things out here, it can look into security. So before it hits the inventory API, he can say that no, validate a JWT token. And for that, you don't need to do coding. He will look into that, right? You can go and put some rules out here. You can put some rules saying that you cannot make 10 calls consecutively, right? In the output also, you can put caching, saying that, okay, like if you send ID is equal to 1, I will give you a cache response of 20 minutes. And after that, the cache will expire. So all this, what you see out there, is, it's a part of the API management. So it helps you to manage your API, right? So what I'm going to do now is, I'm going to go to my portal out here, and you have to first go and create your API management service. So you can see here the API management service. Now, warning, warning, warning. It takes 40 minutes. It takes 40 minutes to create the API management service. So please, so what I've done is I've already created this, but let me show you what kind of parameters it has. I don't know, the last month I took a training, it was only 10 minutes, but like today, luckily, I said that yesterday, I think in the previous class, day before yesterday, that Azure Cosmos DB took like 20 minutes to create, right? So I said that let me do it now itself. And at 8 o'clock it started, and it just ended 8:45, right? So that it takes a lot of time. So you can see here, but let me show you a demo out here of how you can create it. Already we have one there, okay? So this is the Azure API Management Service. The first thing is you will need an URL. So you can see here, I'll say here, QuestPond some API. So that means my front-end API name will be questpondsome.api.azure.api.net. So that will be my front-end API where the hit will come in, right? An organization name, QuestPond, right? And now this API management service, comes in different flavors, different pricing and flavors. Let me talk about it. I'm really glad to see that developer edition coming in Azure as well. I really love the developer edition because as a developer, I really need to go ahead and test it. I want to see all the service, and I don't want to get charged too much, like how we have our Visual Studio Developer Edition, right? So now I can see that in a lot of those Azure services, they are coming with the developer version. So you can see that one is a developer version, which I will select for this course, for this demo. Developer version, you don't have any SLA. It is only for a single endpoint. It is only for single thing. So single region. There is a limit also on everything, but you still get charged, right? So there is a charge out there, but very less, to test. Then you have the basic and the standard, and the basic and the standard, really the numbers are here. Like for example, the maximum scale unit is 2, here it is 4, 50 MB of cache, here it is 1 GB, and so on. I really hate this, the amount out here. So you have 9,000 or 10,000 rupees for basic, and you jump 5 times more for getting it standard. I really don't like this. The same is happening with a lot of services of Azure. So what they're doing is, for the mid-sized companies, they are saying, okay, here it is a small amount. But the time you are a big shot, like somebody big out there who wants to do some huge load, they go suddenly very deep. I'm really not liking this policy. I hope that they can at least make it 20,000 or something, right? But so there is no intermediate point in between. That's not only for this. Like example, if you look at Power BI, same thing. No money, and then less money, and then like too high, right? So I know that the marketing policy, how it is working out there, but I hope that they rectify this kind of, or they improve the policies around this. So Azure, yes, there is, there is no Active Directory integration. That is so sad. But here it is. Even if you don't have an Active Directory integration out here, remember in Active Directory also, I'll take that question. There is a question out there. My eyes are also at the right hand side. That I don't have any AD over here. Remember, this is the advanced AD. Remember, there is a basic Active Directory. You have a basic Active Directory that you can integrate. But if you're talking about the paid one, then you have to again go and pay more, right? So the basic Active Directory is there, but not the advanced one, what they have. So I'll just select this one, developer for now. I'll just select it. Remember, we have a free AD. We already have a free Active Directory. So I'm not talking about the paid one. Yeah, the VNet is also missing. Murli, yes, I agree. That's what I'm saying. Like, it is not justifiable. It is not fair, if you ask me, that you don't give me. Remember, the developer edition is only for testing purpose. So forget about it. It is not for production. But for the basic production also, you're not giving me those virtual networks and so on. This is where, somewhere sometimes my eyes shift towards Amazon, right? But that's fine. That's something we really need to. That's why Azure. What I understand is, Azure is for big companies at this moment. Till now, also, the app service and the VMs are fine, but the time you go for higher end kind of thing, it's something still for the big companies. So here it is. You can see now the deployment has started. As I told you, that this deployment take almost 40 minutes out here. So we will watch that. How much time it takes. But I have a QuestPond API which I've created, and this is already done, right? And it is out there, right? So now what I will do is I will go and I will check in on Web API. So here it is. I've created an MVC Core Web API. So people who are new to MVC Core, please go and watch the tutorials of MVC Core and MVC5. So this is an MVC Core Web API. It has an index controller. I've just kept the basic code, get, post, and so on, right? So what I will do is I will go and I will upload this service into Azure. So to upload this service, we'll go and we'll create an app service. So I'm going to go and create an app service out here. Remember, if you want to publish websites, if you want to publish web API, if you want to publish ASP.NET, Java application, web application, it is the app service here. So I'm going to go and create an app service plan. And I will just put it to resource 1, Central US. Let's take the basic one, review, create, form validation. What happened? Yes, I have to also select the name of the app service. App service, hello world. Yeah, let's say hello world. Hello world means it has index, but hello world. Oh, why am I creating app service plan? I need to create an app service. It's becoming old. Guys, I selected app service plan. I need to create app services. That's what I was saying. It's not showing .NET Core or anything out there. Remember, there is an app service, and to that app service, there is a plan attached. So I was actually creating the plan. This plan means, dual CPU, so that kind of plan. So you have an app service, a web application, and to that you can attach a plan. So, and the name of the website out here. So I'll just say QuestPond API, QuestPond Backend API, big name, so that we can differentiate that one is a front end API and the other is a backend API. Yes, Deepak, it means the plan means the configuration of the machine, the configuration of the infrastructure. At this moment, I will select .NET Core 3.1 because that's what the code I am having. I can happily host on Linux. I don't think I should have a problem. Let's minimize our cost. .NET Core is cross-platform. But you know what? If I try to do that, it actually creates. Sometimes it does not create it. I don't know why. Let me see. Sometimes the Linux plan just fails. You can see that. I really don't know why it is failing, and it is the runtime or something, right? So what I'll do is I'll select Windows, or must be they are selling Windows to me. So because now I have to pay for the Windows license also, right? Sometimes I feel this so-called as cross-platform of .NET Core is. I know it is real, but when it comes to really implementing it out there are challenges. So there it is. My app service is getting created, and what I will do out here is, so once it is deployed, I will go and I will publish this, right? Okay. So now let us go back again to our syllabus until that app service will get published. So I talked about what is Azure APIM. Now let me also talk about the architecture of this Azure APIM. So first thing, we have this Azure APIM, which I will term it as a front-end API. So this APIM layer is out here, front-end API. So any request which comes here, it comes here, right? Then you have our hello world, which is now created, which is actually a backend API, right? So this is a backend API, and this is what we want to protect. Now there can be backend API, there can be many backend APIs. I have only one for now, right? So now first thing, there is a concept here called as inbound policy. So what you can do here is you can go and you can say in the inbound rules like only you can call 3 times consecutively, and after the third time you can only call after 40 minutes. You can only call from this region. You can you need to send me an API key, and so on. So I can go and I can define inbound rules out here. And also we have a concept here called as the outbound rules. Outbound thing, for example, I can say that, okay, now it is JSON, how about creating a transformation and sending XML, right? And so on. So basically this inbound rules and outbound rules are set using simple XML out there, right? And if you look at the AZ204 questions, right, a lot of questions revolve around these inbound and outbound rules, right? Now you can see I have backend API 1. I can have many backend APIs out here. Let's say I have one more weather API. I have one more inventory API, right? So now what happens is I want to give some common policies between these two APIs. So what I can do is I can go and I can create a product of the API. So I can say this product is all about weather API. So it has these 4 APIs. So you can think about this product is a logical grouping of API. And then if I go and apply any policy on this product, it gets applied to all the APIs, right? So there is a concept of product also. So you can think about product is nothing but it logically groups the backend APIs. It logically groups the backend APIs. So just remember these words: front-end API, inbound rules, outbound rules, products, and backend API. So whenever I say backend API means our API. Whenever I say front-end API means the API which is there by the API M, right? Okay, now let's go back. I hope that until I discuss all this at the back end, you can see, guys, you can see that it is still creating that thing. The web portal has been created. So fine, I can go to the web portal. So that is a backend API. So let us go and publish our code into this backend API. So this is our Visual Studio out here, and let me quickly publish the web API out here. So I will go and I will create a new, I don't want to create an app service, which is a new one, because already I have this app service. So I'll just select that. So first thing, ensure that you are logged in the Microsoft account out here. So I'll go to REST 1, and this is where I want to publish the backend API. My code will go out there, right? And I will say publish, build, and publish solution. Publish hello world API. Right. So there it is, getting published, right? So if you see my API at this moment, this API is pointing. This is the backend API, guys. Remember the name here: Questpoint backend API.azurewebsites.net. So once everything works out, I should be able to see my API out here. Now remember that if you look at this API, at this moment I've deleted their homepage and so on. So basically, if I want to go and request to this API, I have to say API/index. So then it will go and show me this string collection out here, right? So if I want to go and see my output here, because now if I do a refresh, because there is no, you can see it has gone under construction. So must be my API is getting published. You can see Visual Studio is still working, right? So now remember, I would see a page not found. Why? Because if you see out here, I have deleted the index pages. So I'm so sorry for that. But there was this. This is the index API, right? But I've deleted the index controller. So the index controller point towards the home page that has been deleted. It's a pure API, right? So now let me refresh this. Oh, it's taking so much time. Right. Okay. Okay, until this gets published out here, let me quickly go back out there. Now, so one is the Questpoint backend API we have, and another one is Questpoint API. This is the front end API. Look at this, Questpoint API, Azure's API.net. So this one is the front end API. You can see it says no resource found for now and so on, right? So remember, for now, our front end API is one which is created in Azure, this one, and he will send a request to the one which is out here, the backend API. So this is the backend API, which is our .NET Core, right? Right. So if I refresh, it's still publishing. Is it? It's taking so much time. Fine. Okay, let's go back here. Now, if you want to go and add an API, you can see the API out here. Guys, that API is getting published, so let us give it sweet time. So you can see here, there's an API out there, and you can go and you can add an API, which is a blank API. You can go and add an open API. You can add an WCF, which is SOAP. You can add your own app service. At this point, I've created an app service. So you can see right from scratch blank API till different kind of flavors which are existing in the market. It tries to add all the APIs to your APIM, right? And also you can see he has given a one API which is an Echo API out here. You can see this is an Echo API. This Echo API, what it does is it is for testing purpose. So if you just send him an hello, he will just give you an hello and so on, right? So there is an Echo API out here. So you can see our QuestPond backend API services has been there. Now, as I've said that the home page has been deleted, so it says page not found, which is good. That's fine, 404. But I can go and say API/index, and I should see my API. So there it is. You can see the string is displayed, and that is good, right? So it is working. So now let us go and add this QuestPond API to our APIM. I'm adding the QuestPond API, which I created the backend API out here. So I'm going to go and say add API, and I will try to add. Now I can add an app service or I can add a blank API, but I will add an app service because it's already out there, right? So I'm going to go and add an app service, and I will say my app service is out here. Remember, again, you can add a blank API very quickly. If you go to blank API, you can give your web service URL out here, no problem, and you can still go ahead as I'm going out there, right? So in case people who are thinking that how I can consume Java APIs or any other APIs which are created in other technologies, you can just go and add the API. So I'll go and say app service for now, and I will select the one which I have, the backend API. I will select it out here. So look at this. This is my front end URL, and this is my backend, which is at the backend, and I will just say create. Now automatically when this API is added to the APIM, right? The API management, you will see at the left hand side the API. So there it is. You have two APIs now. One is an Echo API which he had given, and one is a backend API, right? Now I want to go and test this. Right? So must be I can hit this get out here. So you can see here I'm hitting the get request out here, and there is a small menu of test, right? There's a small menu of test. You can see now when I hit this get out here, you can see those you can see at the right hand side, front end, inbound processing, your backend API endpoint, and outbound processing. So front end, backend API, and outbound processing. So I can put rules here. You can see the small XML tab out here. I can click on the XML tabs and I can put some rules. I can put policies also here. So these are termed as policies. I'm using the word rules, but the proper name I've seen the Azure team using is policies. You can again click and say policies, right? Good. So we'll see that. We'll see some examples of policies as well today, right? Okay. So now here, let me go and test. You can see there's a nice thing here. So design, when I say design, I can go and start putting those XMLs, which I don't want to do for now. Let me now, okay. So Deepak, there's a question here, which API we'll call? We'll call definitely the APIM. So we are expecting to call the APIM. APIM means this API. We will actually try to call this API, isn't it, right? And that should hit the backend API. Fine, we'll see that. We'll see that mapping, don't worry. Because if it does not, if you hit the backend API, then you are naked. If you shouldn't be bypassing the front end API. If you're using APIM, everything should go through APIM. So I'm going to go and send a request. You can see I've clicked on get, and let me try to send a request. I'm expecting an error actually out here. So let's see what happens. Send. And if you see out here, it says 404 not found. Now let me go and quickly trace out why it is saying 404 not found, because I definitely have an API. So I'll just go and do a trace out here. Let's look at the trace. in the trace, the first thing you will see that it has hit correspond API Azure API net, which is good. Let's look at the second trace out here. What happens after that inbound rule? It hit the backend API correspond Azure website, which is wrong because it should be hitting not here. If you hit here, it will not work. It should hit API/index. It should actually try to hit out here, right? So I need to go and modify this call out here. So I'm going to go. So let me do like this. Let me go and delete this, and let me add a get call myself, right? So I'm going to go and delete this. Only I'm deleting the get request, the get configuration, right? So you can see here I've deleted it, and let me add. Let me go to the design and add an operation out here. So I'll say this is a get which I'm adding, and the URL which I will be putting out here is API/index. So that's what it should hit, right? I'll just say save. Right, so now again we have a get. Now let us go and try to test it. So again, go to the test. I really like this that they have provided the test right away in the APIM, because or else I need to go to Postman and do all those things, right? So here right away in the test it is there. I can just go and say test. I can add parameters also here. So if I want to add a token or something and all those things, right? So not needed out here. So that's a good thing. But I it's very costly. I really don't like the pricing out there, but fine, it's I think they're giving us a taste. Once we get acquainted to all this, they will start charging us afterwards more. So you can see, I can see now I'm not getting that error, and also I'm getting value 1 and value 2, right? So good. Our API is all there at the back end. It is working, right? So that's how you go and add an API. So if you think about it, so now let us go and try to see. So this is the correspond API. And internally I was able to test it. So I went to the API and I was able to test it from here. So I was able to test it from here, right? But now what about testing it from the external website, right? So test, where is my send button? Send button gets enabled here and say send. So from here I was able to test it. But let me now try to hit directly this Azure API.net. Let me try to hit it directly, right? So let us see what happens. Control V, enter. One is I'm getting the resource not found. So let me see. No. We have configured cores. No cores out here as such. Right. Oh, I need the API index. I'm so sorry. Right. So I have to hit here. What am I doing? API/index. Let us see what it shows. You can see it is showing me the value out here, which I didn't like actually. Because let me try to go in a cognito mode. If I try, oh, that's good. That's what I want, right? So you can see now I'm getting protected out here. That if anybody now at this moment I'm logged in into my application, into my correspond, into my portal, so I'm able to call this. But if you're logging from outside like this, like example Azure API.net/index, it says that no, like please, either give me the key or give me something. You can't make a naked call like this, right? So what we can really do out here is, so what happens is when this call is made out here, there is already JWT token, or I'll say not JWT, but already a token is out there. So if you really see very closely out here, you can see that there is a subscription key, and this subscription key is needed, or else you won't be able to make a call, right? So what I will do out here is, let me see if I can try it out. And I don't know why it did not send. It should have sent me an error here as well. Oh, because it's right. So right now it is there. You can see now that error is there. I was expecting this error out here. Now, oh, that's my subscription key has been leaked out. That is so bad. But that subscription key again will get deleted with the API, right? So don't worry. So you can see now I'm seeing this message out here. I don't need the cognito mode, frankly. So why is this message? Because he needs that key, right? That key, if you see in the request when you did a test, this is out here. So what you can do is I can go and I can copy this key just for testing purpose. Just for testing purpose, what I've done is I have used this mod header. Mod header is an Chrome plugin where I can go and I can add header. So I'll go and I will add a request header. So remember, when you're doing it from your Angular or through your ASP.NET, you need to go and say request.add headers, right? At this moment, I'm doing it through this tool out here. So now I'll go and put this key. If I put this key out there, after when this key is out there, right, then I will be able to make a call. So you can see now the keys are all out here. And now if I do a refresh, good. So again, like even that front-end API is protected. It needs a key. Without the key, you can't make a call, right? So all that is taken care by Azure API, right? Okay, good. So guys, any questions? Any questions? Yes. Let us see the questions now. Let us go back to questions. Mod header is a plugin. Yes, it is a plugin. I'll go back to the questions, guys, because before I take something new topic out here, I think we'll go again for more 50 minutes today, right? This topic is very big. So how to implement the rate limiter in API? I'll just show that Murli, this is there as a next demo. Yes. So first thing, the mod header, it's a plugin. Just go and search in the store of Chrome, you'll get it. Is inbound and backend? Yes, it is outbound. Yes, absolutely. Murli, absolutely, Kumar sir, you can think like that. But when I put that XML, we can add something more to that outbound. Inbound, you're written properly. Outbound is something else, right? We have to configure CORS. No, at this moment we don't have to. CORS is enabled by default. Very good question. CORS is enabled by default, but if you want, you can go and disable it. Postman not required. Yes, it is not required for now, and so on. So I can see some questions out there. How to multiple is mapped to front-end API. So we can see here how the backend API is mapped to the front-end API. Multiple backend API. So remember the backend API when it is called. Remember that URL /index. So must be if I can do /hello world, then all will go to hello world, right? So at this moment I've just kept it out. But if you want to really go and do the mapping, you can say /hello world, it will go to hello world. So you need a namespace. You need some kind of a name given. At this moment, I have not given any name, so it is direct calls are happening. Okay, so this is one part. Let us continue, guys. I can see no questions out there. We also have a concept here called as products. So you can see now I have this Echo API and the backend API here. But what if I want to go and put some policies, then I have to go and implement out here, and then I have to go to the design and implement policies out here, right, and so on. So what you can do is you can group them into products. So I can say add. This is something, product one. I didn't like this word products. It's they should have given something else, So I'll just not publish it for now. So legal terms, if I want to put some legal terms and so on, and I'll select the API. So in this product, I will have two APIs, the Echo API and the corresponding backend API. I'll say create, right? Our description, this groups two APIs, Echo and hello world, right? And I'll say create out here. Can you see, guys? Just quickly, can you? Okay, that now that API management 8 minutes back. Can you believe that 8 minutes back that API management has got completed? So sad it is. Thank you. I made that API management first only, or else it would have taken time. So there it is, products. Now I can go to product one out here, and what I can do is I can go and I can apply policies at the product level. So I can go and I can apply policies at the product level. You can see I can apply inbound and outbound policies, which are common for all of these products, right? So that's what that product is meant for, right? Okay. Right. So now let us go and look into also. Let us look at the syllabus. I had some syllabus in mind today. So architecture of API I've talked about inbound, outbound products and front-end API. Oh, revision. This is a wonderful thing again. Let's talk about revision. I really like this revision. Now think about it. So you have this, someone is using this. Okay, before revision, let me do like this. Let me configure an inbound rule. Then I will take revision. This one I've completed API call using from the external browser. So this is done, right? So we have done till here. This is done. This is done. Just for my notes out here, right? Guys, we'll take the AZ204 questions tomorrow. The questions are really tough. Inbound and outbound rules. Okay. Let me go and create an inbound rule. So what I will do is let me go to the Azure documentation and let me create an inbound rule out here. For example, in the tutorial, you can see that there's something called as protect your API tutorial, right? And in that, it says that you can do transformation, means outbound rules, and you can protect your API. So I'll just go out there and everything is step by step, guys. You can watch here. So can I create some inbound rule? Yeah, there it is. Somebody was asking me in the question, somebody asked me, can you go and show how to put the rate limiter? So I'll take that example. I'll take the rate limiter example. So you can see here, I can go and I can say a rate limit. Now remember, you don't have to by heart these XMLs. You can just go and Google it. You can get it from the documentation, right? You just need to remember that there is an inbound rule where you can. So you can see here, 15 seconds of renewal period, and after 3 calls, this will go off. So this we have to put in the inbound tag. So I'm going to go and copy this. I'll copy this, and let me go back to my API out here. And let us go to the API. So let us go to the design. And in the design, you can see there is an XML out here. I'll just go to the policy code editor. I would expect some designer out here, so, but that's fine, too much to expect. So I'll go and I'll put that code as shown in the, as it is shown in the documentation. I'll just save it. So now I have 3 limits of inbound processing, right? So let me try to see if this works or not. So there it is. I'll hit once, 1, 2, 3, and book 4. Try again in 11 seconds. So 15 seconds of rate limit, right? Okay. So so you can see here that that this is working out, right? So inbound rules and outbound rules is nothing but it is XML which applies, which you can go and you can copy paste it and you can do it, right? So that's what was inbound rules. Guys, you can go to the documentation and do one example for outbound rules, for example, caching or something, right? Okay, so any questions, guys, still here? So this is again done, a simple example of an inbound rule, right? Let me cover this revision as well, revisions. Now what happens is, this is good. So you have set a rate limit out here, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's working. Think about that. This is consumed by a lot of people out there. People are using this, right? And then some people come in and say that, hey, I don't want that policy. Can you go and create a new API for me, a kind of a revision API, right? Where I want that my policy should be different, my code should be different. You want to add some new methods, right? So in other words, if you see in API, one of the things is your API gets consumed by a lot of people. So you have an API out here. Let's say it has 2 methods. Let's say get and post. And many people are using it. Let's say millions of developers are consuming that API. Now you want to go and add something here called as put, or you want to go and change post. Let us say you want to go and remove this get. But if you remove this get, all of these guys will break, which you don't want. So what you want is, you want to go and create a revision wherein in that API, you do not have a get, you only have post. And this API, you will test it, you will look everything after it, and then probably you want to go live, right? So you want to go and create a revision which is not seen outside, and then this revision you want to test it, and then you want to go and say, then you want to say that, okay, then switch to this revision. So you want to sometimes make live this or live like this, and also probably you want that this revision is used by the other million users, right? The other new ones, right? So you want to go and create versioning and so on, right? So for that, what you can do is, that's where we have this thing out here. So what I will do is, at this moment, this get request is having a limit. It has an inbound processing. Let me go and create a new version of it. So I will go and I will create a new version of it. We can see revision tabs out here, revision. And I will add a revision out here, and I will say that this does not have inbound rate limit. Please note, guys, at this moment, my revision is about the inbound policy, but this can be a code change. This can be a method name change. It can be anything, right? So I'll go and I'll create this new version of the get. And in this new version of the get, what I will do is I will remove that policy. So you can see now, look at this at the top. I'm moving my mouse out there. It is showing revision 2, right? So still my API is working. It is working as it is. You know, I've not done any changes, but that is working as it is, right? So that revision 1 or whatever is there is all out there. And so this is a new revision out here. And to this revision, I want to go and do a design. So I'll go to the design out here and I will remove the policy from here. So you can see now, I will remove the policy from here, but this will not affect my front-end API. My front-end API is still out there. For example, here now, for example, if you see out here, if I do a test on revision 2, please note, at this moment, I'm doing a test on revision 2. On the go live, it is still the old API, 2, 3, 4, boom, right? But internally, if you see out here, when I do a get, when I go and make a 3 times get call here, like send once, oh, what happened? It's like, it's still rate limit after 3 seconds. Why? What did I do? Oh, I deleted something else. There is no control Z. Let me remove that. I'm not sure what code was that. You know, evening hangover. So I'll just click on the get. I'm so sorry for that. Yeah, that I think it's for a simple get call, it should not matter. Let's see if not. So one, I think I need to go ahead now and get that right. Fine. Let me go back. All mistakes out there. API. API. Revision 1. Fine. What did I? Oh, inbound policy. Yeah. Okay. So there, I'm going to now go to revisions. We'll go out here. Revision 1. And these guys are doing a wonderful job out here and they're making us lazy. Please understand it. Why my XML is okay. Save, fine. So sorry for that, guys. You know, so I'll go and do a test out here. So send. So there it is. Value 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope. Oh. Am I? Or did I do revision 1? Okay, I think I changed somewhere else. Okay, guys. So what I mean to say is that, you know, let me not get into this. I think I'm messing up things out here. What I mean to say is that, you know, this revision, whatever I do changes out here, I can make it current later on. You can see here, make it current, right? And then what will happen is this front end guy will go to the second revision, right? I think I messed with that XML out there, but I hope everybody has understood what I was trying to do, right? So revisions, you know, you can go ahead and you can create revisions at the back end, still let the front end work, and then make the revision live. Or must be you can have multiple revisions as well. You can say that, no, like I want 2 revisions to continue and so on, right? Yeah, you can do that as well. So Amit, that we'll do in the next class. In the next class, guys, there are 2, 3 things I will be doing. One is a lot of people asked about the multiple mappings. That is a part of the question. Second, a lot of people asked about this, how we can go and hit the revision at the back end. That again will be in the next. There are some questions which are around this only web API. There are, at least I know there is one big case study which keeps coming up, the caching case study. So we'll see that caching thing in tomorrow's class, right? So any questions, guys, on the basic part? So I think this is the revision that is also done. I did not want to take more than 45 minutes or 50 minutes out here, because in 10 minutes, I cannot do that caching policy and so, other things. It will take a lot of time, right? So let us see the questions. Let me see. 2 version of API, Kumar, we'll do it tomorrow. We'll do it tomorrow, yes. Okay. Okay, MCSD with web app with C#, yes. So yeah, solid principles, yes. Developers are developer, they will always try to say solid principles, yeah. Whatever is at the class level is now becoming at the API level. So, okay, so thank you very much, guys. It is not per user, but if you want, you can make it per user. If you want, you can make it per user, Deepak. See, in the rate limit, if you remember, it was using that context. If you see the code out here very quickly, remember, these are very awesome rules out here. You can see counter key. What is the counter key here? Yes, you can see this is subscription ID. What you can do is you can make it session ID, or you can make it your own something. You will say that this is my number, and as per this make. So it will be depending on what kind of key you will put it out here. So if in the context variable, I can say here context.request.form username. So I can put anything out here. Let me know if that is it is not of the sub key. They have used the subscription ID, but you can put any other variable out here. This is a variable at the rate. Remember, this inbound XML is again like a bit of programming as well. It has variable declaration. You can set a value and so on. For example, let me show you something more complex out here. Samples, no, concepts. Where can I see cache? Caching. Oh, not this cache. If you see caching policy, you will see a lot of XML out there. Caching policy, Azure API. The Google search is better than the search of Microsoft. So here it is. If you see, like, for example, look at this. This is a policy of caching. You will see that, okay, it's not here. But, there are a lot of things like set, if conditions, for loops, right? So you can do all of this. So that sub key, that is a variable out there. Is API remit also used for DDoS attacks? No, Yogesh, this is not for DDoS attacks. No, it is not for DDoS attacks. Already the DDoS attacks are already there. There is a separate service of DDoS attack. So, and by default, I think everything is protected by DDoS attacks. At least the websites are protected by DDoS attacks. This is not for DDoS attacks, guys. This is not for DDoS. Look at the code. Again, I'm showing you the code out there. This code out here, it is not generic, it is, where is this one here is having a condition. This condition can change. A DDoS attacks is very general. If somebody is making a spam call, then you will not look into any condition. You will just block him. And for DDoS attacks, there is a counter thing we need to do, block that IP. So that cannot be done by this rate limit. This rate limit is just saying limit this one, Right, it's more of a security. That's a different thing. Yes, it's a Kumar, you are right, Okay, guys, thank you very much.